It's the Wilk Report. I'm Michael Wilk, coming to you from Cleveland, Ohio, with a response video to several put up by YouTuber Ketwolski, who has been putting out some rather dishonest videos attacking Midnight's Edge and people associated with Midnight's Edge over STD and the accurate rumors and speculations that the other channel has been reporting on. Because Ketwolski, I don't know, for some reason he's developed a hate-filled rage boner for Midnight's Edge. I don't know why. Maybe because he get more views on his videos on the subject too. I don't know. But it's actually really kind of sad because Ketwolski has actually done some pretty good work, laying out the case for why Anna Apton's lawsuit against CBS and STD actually does have quite a bit of legal merit. And he's also done some good work breaking down why STD is so visually and tonally different from actual Star Trek that you can't really call it Star Trek. So, and I'll embed these videos of his in the video itself, and you can go ahead and take a look at them at your leisure, and you can decide for yourself. But I want to go ahead and address a few things that are being done dishonestly, in my opinion, by Ketwolski, and I'm going to do this in a series of videos myself. So I'll break down some of the dishonest arguments that he's been making, and then you can decide for yourself. But I think it's pretty clear that he's actually lying, and I'll go ahead and explain why. All right, so one argument that Ketwolski has made since he began doing these videos is he's been kind of lumping people who believe Midnight's Edge in with conspiracy nuts, and then trying to make what I guess he hopes people will believe is Occam's razor arguments for supporting his own dishonesty. So one thing that he's claimed is that CBS actually owns the rights to STD, and that the whole rights issue is basically a lie put out by Midnight's Edge. Or, I mean, he doesn't actually say it's a lie. He, uses weasel words to claim that they're misinformed, but they're just that, they're weasel words, and he's implying indirectly that they're lying. So let's go ahead and settle this once and for all, okay? This is on ScreenRant.com in an article that appeared September 24th, 2017, explaining who actually owns the rights to STD. And it continues, from explaining, what's going on with the Kelvin timeline. So, as for why Jar Jar Abrams and his movie-making team created the alternate Kelvin timeline to begin with, the answers to that can be found in the confusing real-world issue of who owns the rights to Star Trek. Paramount is a wholesale owner of the Star Trek property. Paramount, in turn, was owned by the Viacom Corporation, which also owned CBS. In 2005, Viacom underwent a corporate split. A new Viacom was formed, and the ownership of Paramount was transferred to it. The previous entity, called Viacom, was renamed the CBS Corporation. When this occurred, ownership of the Star Trek feature films made before 2005 was transferred to Paramount, but ownership of all Star Trek's trademarks and intellectual properties now belonged to CBS Corporation. However, in order to make any new Star Trek movies or television series, Paramount has to license the rights to Star Trek from CBS. This is what happened when Jar Jar Abrams and his production company, Bad Reboot, embarked upon making his Star Black film. Paramount and Bad Reboot licensed the rights to create an alternate Star Black copyright from CBS, in part to enable Abrams' desire for his movie to be about a younger version of Kirk and Spock, which would radically change established canon. Hence, Abrams created the Kelvin timeline, which allows him and his successors, like Star Black Beyond's director Justin Lin, to do whatever they pleased with their version of Star Black, since the results of this destructive freedom would not conflict with nor infringe upon the canon established in the Prime timeline. It's worth noting that with the declining box office performance of the Kelvin timeline set Star Black films, The Prime timeline solidly remains the more popular version of Star Trek. Actually, it's the only version of Star Trek in existence. STD is just a pretender. Like Abrams' Star Blek movies, STD was made under Bad Reboot's license of Star Trek from CBS. Bad Reboot and Paramount wanted to continue their license to produce more Star Blek outside of the increasingly expensive feature-length movies. CBS is happy to use STD as a means to promote CBS All Access, but Paramount and Bad Reboot own the series, the production costs of which were largely financed by Netflix, which paid an exorbitant amount for the rights to distribute STD internationally. However, it's because Paramount and Bad Reboot own Discovery, not CBS, which owns the Prime Timeline Star Trek, that there was doubt among skeptical Trekkers about STD's producers' long-held claim that STD is set in the Prime universe and will sync up with the established Prime Timeline canon. As a prequel, STD can claim that it begins in the Prime universe, as Jar Jar Abrams' first Star Blek did for the first few minutes, but does the series remain in the Prime timeline? And he goes into, why it is not. In response to my posting a link to this and quoting the relevant parts to Ketwolski, he posted a reply saying, "I sent a DM to the author as well just to say I tried, but I mean it's Screen Rant, so the answer is kind of obvious. It's a bunch of words on a page, slap on a clickbait title, and then never bother to clarify it." I'm sure you meant to say clarify, not clarify it, or back anything up. Rinse and repeat over there. Maybe I just spent too much time on the internet because I thought everyone knew this about Screen Rant. That is a lie, Ketwolski, and you know it is a lie. Because what you just did was create an ad hominem attack. Whereas instead of actually addressing anything that was actually said in the Screen Rant article, or making any effort whatsoever to provide evidence rebutting what was said in there, you simply attacked Screen Rant as being clickbait and didn't offer any information that might have supported your own argument. So that is a form of deception, and you know it is a form of deception. Shame on you. Now, if I wanted to be as dishonest as Ketwolski here, I could go ahead and point out that comicbook.com is owned by CBS and therefore is not likely to be honest when it goes ahead and contradicts what Screen Rant was saying. But I'm not going to do that because I actually don't know for sure if CBS is lying or not. And this is in regards to an article here that was posted April 17th, 2018 on comicbook.com, which again is owned by CBS. So take that for however you will. And it offers an update. But let me go ahead and, before I go ahead and quote from that initial update portion, I'm going to go ahead and quote to you what was said by the guys who actually redesigned the Starship Enterprise for STD for the end of Season 1 and all of Season 2. Designers John Eves and Scott Schneider were tasked with putting together concept art for the Enterprise's appearance in STD. One of their images, showing the Enterprise flying alongside the USS Discovery, is featured in the Star Trek Ships of the Line wall calendar. After seeing the response to the image, Eves took to Facebook to shed some light on the design process. Back in April of 2017, the task of the Enterprise making an appearance came to be, and work was to start right away, Eves says. The task started with the guideline that the Enterprise for Discovery had to be 25% different, otherwise production would have most likely been able to use the original design from the 60s, but that couldn't happen, so we took Jeffries, that would be Matt Jeffries, the guy who originally designed the Starship Enterprise, took his original concepts and with great care tried to be as faithful as possible. We had the advantage of a 10-year gap in Trek history to retro the ship a bit with elements that could be removed and replaced somewhere in the time frame of Discovery and the original series. And it goes on to say, the Jeffries mentioned by Eves is Matt Jeffries, the artist and designer who designed the original Enterprise. When asked about whether the 25% rule came from legal or creative, Schneider chimed in to say that it was legal, and Eves expanded on that a bit. We've cleaned some spelling and grammar for clarity. After Enterprise, properties of Star Trek ownership changed hands and was divided, so what was able to cross TV shows up to that point changed, and a lot of the crossover was no longer allowed, Eves says. That is why when Jar Jar Abrams' movie came along, everything had to be different. The alternate universe concept was what really made that movie happen in a way as to not cross the new boundaries and give Trek a new footing to continue. And later on, there was an update added to the beginning saying a spokesperson who's never actually named, that sets up red flags for me, but a spokesperson for STD reached out to comicbook.com, which is owned by CBS, to correct some, quote, inaccuracies, end quote, inaccuracies, in Eve's account. The spokesperson stated that CBS TV Studios does, in fact, own the rights to the designs for the USS Enterprise seen on previous Star Trek TV shows, and that they are not legally required to make any changes to the design in order to use the ship in STD. The Eves and Schneider piece that appears in the Ships of the Line calendar is concept artwork that was completed long before the visual effects work was done, and any changes made to the design of the Enterprise were creative ones to utilize 2018 visual effects technology. All right, so we've got on the one side we've got Midnight's Edge, which is reporting in a way that seems to support what ScreenRant.com had said, that Bad Reboot and Paramount actually own STD, and it's being produced out of there. And then, of course, we've got the actual guys who designed that, the guys who actually redesigned the Starship Enterprise for STD, saying that it was a rights issue, that they don't actually have the rights to redesign it. Well, let's use the principle of Occam's razor that Ketwolski loves to try and pummel us over the head with when he tries to portray Midnight's Edge as a bunch of conspiracy peddlers. Let's assume for a moment that Bad Reboot and Paramount actually do own STD, and the reason why they decided to redesign the USS Enterprise along with everything else is simply because they wanted to, and CBS went along with it. Well, there you go. CBS probably had no objection when Alex Klutzman and his merry band of thieves and liars and screw-ups decided, well, we're not going to follow canon, we're just going to make up our own shit as we go along. And that means completely redesigning everything, because why not? I mean, that's as close a thing as I can think of that makes sense, because if you note, the stories on the other side that Ketwolski defends keep changing. First, it's reported that CBS and Bad Reboot really are not on the same page as far as rights are concerned. STD is, as far as I can tell, and if someone can actually produce credible information showing that Bad Reboot is not the owner, along with Paramount, of STD, I will be more than happy to make a video and proclaim that I was wrong, okay? I'm not so prideful that I can't admit making a mistake. But if I am wrong, if STD is owned by CBS and not Bad Reboot and Paramount, I have not seen any information produced either by Ketwolski or anyone else really debunking with any degree of credibility the information from ScreenRant.com. And simply because you haven't found it, probably because you haven't even looked for it, it took me all of 5 minutes to locate the ScreenRant article. So I don't know what your problem is, Ketwolski. You could have gone ahead and simply looked, and it's obvious you didn't because, hey, it took me 5 minutes, so it shouldn't take you any longer. But you weren't interested in looking. You just wanted something that fit your confirmation bias. So that's it for part 1. I will go ahead and debunk lie number 2, wherein Ketwolski self-owns in trying to support his argument later on this week. Until then, this is Michael Wilk for the Wilk Report saying, take care, good night, I'm out, and Ketwolski, take your meds because you've gone off your rocker.